Good morning. Good morning to you all. Your Excellency, Mr. Andrew Noble, Ambassador of the United Kingdom in Romania. Now, I'm glad also that there is life in our economies after 2020. We had a hard year, and we're here to celebrate maybe what it is, maybe a new start. I'm glad that we are still together, Romanian and British businessmen and public servants, working to promote better economic ties between our countries. It is my understanding also that we are here to make sure that the continent does not stay isolated for a very long time, and that Romania, being part of that continent, actually grows stronger ties with the United Kingdom. I am also happy that you have chosen a former pilot, myself, to talk about airports, because when it comes to highways, for instance, we always allow drivers to speak. And I think now it's time for us, drivers of airplanes, to have a say in that. Now, a few housekeeping rules. We cordially invite you to visit the exhibition area on the event platform. You are logged on My Connector. You will be able to make contact with 41 UK companies taking part in today's events. You have the option to contact them directly by chat or video calls, as well as exchange virtual business cards. You will be able to ask questions, of course, in the Q&A area of the platform, in writing only, and I will address them to the speakers because we will have two panels, at least under my watch today, until noon. Now, on with the opening speeches. And the first one is Her Majesty's Ambassador, Andrew Noble. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Lucian. I think many of the sentiments you've expressed already are ones that I would share, and I'd just like to add my own welcome to this first major trade promotion event that my embassy is involved in 2021, and of course our first major event since the conclusion of the new deal between the EU and the UK. And guess what? Here we are to do business. Here we are as much a part of life in Romania as we were in 2020 and in the years before. And I'm very confident that our relationship can grow and grow as it has been doing very successfully. I'm really delighted that we've got over 40 British companies involved today in this trade mission. And I hope it really will be a trade mission in the way that you used to do trade missions when you used to travel via airports, and we'd have given you a nice breakfast at this stage of the day. But more importantly for today, what we can do is provide that contact between the people who are seeking to let contracts and the people who can provide the services for those contracts to be met effectively and efficiently using British know-how and professional experience. So you'll be able to have bilateral meetings. You'll be able to see what companies have to offer. And we're looking forward to really good two-way discussions and to real business coming out of all of this. Romania has an awful lot to offer UK businesses. It's not, I would say that I think there's still a lot of potential to be developed in the trade between our two countries and indeed in the investment. We went last year from 12th biggest investor in Romania to the 7th biggest. And I think that says something about the dynamism within the economic relationship. And I will say a little bit more about that in a moment. We are very pleased that amongst the investors are people like London Stock Exchange Group, who've established their second global hub in the world in Bucharest, following one from Sri Lanka. And I think this is the sort of innovation which is not always well known in the UK. But let me say a little bit more about the context in which this trade mission is taking place. Unfortunately, Transport Minister Drula is not able to be with us today. So I think what I'd like to say is cover some of the area that I think he would have covered, especially in talking to the British participants on the call today, especially those who are not expert in the political and economic landscape of Romania. And so this is, I haven't been asked to say this, but I think a natural part of an embassy helping British businesses is to give you that sort of strategic context. And Romania is moving, I would say, into a phase of modernization and liberalization with a strengthened rule of law and a determination to create a business-friendly environment. To many of you who had dealings with Romania in the last 10 years, some of those statements might appear brave or even naive, but I would say that it's really important to understand what happened in the general election in Romania in December 2020. We've got a brand new ministerial team here now, representing a coalition of 4 parties, all of whom share that modernizing and liberalizing agenda. There is a clear plan to complete Romania's transition from being a post-communist state into a modern market democracy. There's already been very large progress in some areas in Romania, and I referred to London Stock Exchange Group's global hub here. That's a reflection that the IT business in Romania, which is enormous, by the way, the number of global companies who come to Romania for the human capital and for the IT savvy and for the 5th fastest broadband in the world is enormous. And there are many other areas of the private sector where Romanian development in the last 30 years has put them right on at the top of the European League table. There are many other areas where that is not the case, and the transport sector is probably the least developed, along with other components of infrastructure. So the government that for the last year we've had a minority government, and also a reforming government that spent much of its time making plans, coming up with blueprints that would be delivered once they were in government with a majority. And that's the scenario we have today. Despite the difficulties in the past, Romania has had one of the highest growth levels in Europe for many years. And the effects of the COVID pandemic and the growth back out of the pandemic, the figures in Romania are about as good as the figures anywhere. And we're looking at getting back to pre-2020 levels very quickly within 2022, in the very early months of 2022. So that is a very fast turnaround indeed. And on top of those fundamentals of the Romanian economy, Romania has a huge EU budget to spend on infrastructure development and modernization of the country. In the last 8 years, I would say that I don't want to be too polemical here, but the social democratic government lost the golden thread of modernization, which had served Romania so well in the run-up to its joining the European Union in 2017 and in the years thereafter. But this coalition government really intends to refine that golden thread and to do so very urgently. And the transport, as I said, is one of the very major elements of that modernization. The airport's development program was a central part of the infrastructure development and resilience planning that they did last year, together with roads and rail. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the airport development program because we've got lots of people together who can tell you much more in detail and more correctly than I. But just some of the sort of big indicators, if I may, of the scale of the challenge. And it's led, I think, by the fact that Romania has the second biggest diaspora in the world. By diaspora, I mean Romanians who have left the country within the last 10 years and who often retain links to Romania. Romania is second only to Syria. And of course, the Syrian driver has been an entirely different one. But that diaspora travels an awful lot and is one of the main drivers for the huge amount of air travel that takes place to and with Romania. We have about 700,000 Romanians living in the UK at the moment, and that leads to an extraordinary network of flying connections. I think it's true to say that there are 12 UK airports and 17 Romanian airports which are connected with direct flights, often daily, sometimes several times daily, and certainly weekly, which just before the pandemic struck, we calculated that there was something like 350 direct flights between Romania and the UK every week. That leads to a pressure on the infrastructure for which it was not designed. We'll hear from my very good friend, the CEO of Bucharest Airports later on. I think I think I'm right in saying that Ottopen was originally thought of as having a maximum capacity of 11 million. And before COVID, that had shot up to an operating load of 15 million passengers a year. Now, although there are different prognoses for how air travel will emerge from the COVID crisis, it's clear that that diaspora-driven travel will continue. And another major component is and will become tourism. The tourism strategy in Romania has been a relatively weakly defined strategy so far. But 2020 rather unusually saw a tourist boom in Romania, largely domestic tourism, which was a novelty. But it also saw, I think, some of the best international publicity for tourism in Romania. And we are expecting the tourism market to grow very significantly over the coming years. I realize I may already have outlasted my welcome, and you actually want to get on to having a professionals to professional discussion. And let me conclude, if I may, by just welcoming some of the speakers that we've got today. And I'm particularly delighted that my friend Richard Byrne, who is Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Europe, is able to join us. And I don't want to steal his best lines, but I don't mind if you hear the following twice. We in this embassy in Bucharest have a big team from the Department for International Trade, led by Raluca Constantinescu, with Luisa Crăciun as head of infrastructure and head of transport. And you will no doubt hear from Luisa during the day. We are here to help the British businesses, and we define British business, of course, in terms of does it bring a benefit to the British economy? So many foreign companies headquartered in the UK also class as British companies in our definition. We are here to help you do business and to help grow the number of business opportunities in Romania that are won by UK as a part of the international partnership. So please do not be shy to ask us questions. We will tell you whether we need to charge you for the answers or whether the answers are free. If you want more political and economic briefing from me and the economic team, that's also available, or specific sector-specific queries. So Richard, apologies, but if you say the same again, I think that would be really good, because they are a very strong team indeed. I'd like to welcome in particular Graham Bolton from the British Aviation Group, and David Ciceu from the Romanian Airports Association, who are absolutely vital to this event today and to our ability to take forward some of those links. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for sparing the time to talk to us, and we hope it's a very productive day for you as well. I've already mentioned Florin Dumitrescu, the CEO of Bucharest Airports. Nearly made a terrible slip there. And finally, somebody who I'd like to sort of whet your appetite for, and who you may not have been expecting to be on this call, is Steve Crossley, who's representing UK Export Finance. Now, again, I don't want to steal his best lines, but I will sort of, in a little advert for him, say UKEF has got some very innovative ways of spending a very large budget to support British exports to Romania. But we're not naive. We know this is a very interwoven sector, and that British products may be part of something which is not British. But we've got innovative ways of solving that issue, and I'll leave Steve to tell you more about that. May I wish you a very fruitful day online, and very fruitful business between UK and Romania. This is a relationship which is going from strength to strength, and I wish you all a sizable portion of that relationship going forwards. Mulțumesc foarte mult și o zi foarte utilă și frumoasă. Have a good day. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. A quick bio on the next speaker for Romanian viewers who might not know who are they watching. Richard Byrne is Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Europe. He's responsible for supporting the UK's exports to Europe and encouraging inward investment from Europe. He leads 317 trade and investment officials based in the UK's embassies and consulates general across 34 countries in the Europe region, covering the EU, EFTA, Western Balkans, and Israel. His current priorities are to help UK exporters rebound after COVID and to ensure that the UK and European companies are as well prepared as possible to continue trading smoothly after the end of the transition period that just ended on the 31st of December. Mr. Byrne, you have the floor now.
Good morning, Ambassador, friends and guests. I'm delighted to have been invited.
1 second, sorry, do you hear?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Ambassador and guests. I'm delighted to be talking to you today. As you've just been told by our moderator, I'm Richard Byrne. I am the British Trade Commissioner for Europe, covering 34 markets, including EU member states, the EFTA states, the Western Balkans, and Israel. And as Andrew explained, what we do is support British companies to internationalize and export overseas, encourage foreign direct investment from European countries, and also support overseas direct investment from European companies who wish to invest in European markets. A major focus recently has, of course, been trade policy and our role in supporting market access for British companies in Europe and supporting the negotiation of trade continuity agreements. Romania is a very important market for us. And to give you an idea of the current scope of UK trade with Romania, in the 4 quarters to the end of 2019, the total value of trade in goods and services between the UK and Romania was 5.8 billion, and the UK was the 7th largest, seventh largest investor in Romania in 2019. And as Andrew mentioned, there are some very significant British businesses which have chosen Romania for their investments. Of course, I would have liked to be welcoming you together with Andrew in Bucharest, but given the current context, I'm delighted to be addressing you virtually, especially as this is a sector which has probably suffered the most from the current crisis. It's therefore very important to offer our support for the recovery of this sector. And my DIT teams in Romania are here to support you. As Andrew said, we have an outstanding team led by Raluca and Louisa covering transport and infrastructure. Ambassador Noble has already touched on the opportunities in Romania, and we'll be hearing more about these from our esteemed panelists. That is why today I would like to emphasize British excellence in this sector, as UK companies are renowned internationally for their expertise in delivering the world's best sustainable airport solutions. The first international airport in the UK was based in Croydon in London. Opened in the early 1900s and expanded during the 1920s, it was London's first major international airport. It was also the country's main airport before the construction of Northolt Aerodrome, London Heathrow Airport and Gatwick Airport. Things have, of course, changed considerably since then, and the UK now has many international airports, several of which are being recognised as sustainable, green, and leading the way with environmental best practice. Environmental issues such as the reduction of CO2, noise management, air quality, biodiversity, surface and groundwater pollution, and the efficient management of resources such as energy, waste, and water are among our priorities, not only in the UK, but also on all the projects worldwide where British companies work to leave behind an outstanding footprint. From award-winning design and engineering projects for new and existing airports, through to leading-edge initiatives in air traffic management, UK companies are maximising the environmental performance of the world's airports. The UK's Green Industrial Revolution, introduced by the Prime Minister last November, is our blueprint for continuing the clean growth development trajectory of our country, but also provides a basis on which we would like to engage with our partners, including Romania. I do think that bringing these ideas to life with successful projects like Romanian airports will give us all the impetus to continue on this journey to be as green as possible. An airport project also brings with it the opportunity to engage on a multitude of technologies, another flagship priority of the British government and one of our key trade campaigns for 2021, along with clean growth. From design and engineering to operating an airport, British companies have state-of-the-art solutions. Aviation lighting, security, and air traffic control systems, servicing aircraft vehicles, and towing tractors are only a few examples of the products and services that our companies can offer. I know this well because before I became Trade Commissioner for Europe, I spent 3 years in China as the UK's Trade Commissioner there. And China is building more airports than any other country on earth. And we had many great successes with British companies providing all kinds of solutions in the construction and fitting out and new technologies for those airports. And I'm sure they can do the same in Europe, including in Romania. So what does this all mean for the UK? This is a sector where we have real strengths, and partnering with Romania presents an exciting trade opportunity which we are very keen to pursue. We would like strongly to encourage British companies to have a presence in this market. Romania is a very promising country which is developing quickly in a number of areas. UK companies operating in Romania talk enthusiastically about the quality of the staff and the openness of their counterparts to new challenges and new ways of doing things. Romania has some of the best computer programmers in the world, brilliant engineers, and a young and well-educated workforce. Yes, some challenges such as lengthy public procurement processes remain, but our DIT team in Romania is there to support you in navigating and overcoming them. Finally, I would just like to mention the new UK-EU trade agreement, which was signed on Christmas Eve. It is the biggest trade deal of its kind, covering £660 billion worth of trade. This will allow us to continue our trading relationship with the EU and with Romania, although under slightly different circumstances. But it does provide preferential market access to the EU for UK businesses and ensures that there are no tariffs or quotas for the trade of most goods. So this gives us hope that the bilateral relationship between the UK and Romania will develop further and that we'll find new ways and areas of competition, of cooperation. But today is about the opportunities in Romania. I'm confident that the virtual mission which my team has put together will give you all a sense of what the future holds for your company or airport. I wish you very productive meetings throughout the rest of the day. Thank you very much.